everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to Mystical Munchies, featuring the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge official Black Spire Outpost cookbook. The fried Endorian tip-yip from last week wasn't too bad, so now we're on to the dessert for the last recipe out of the cookbook for this month, as we make Zoochberry Surprise. First up, let's tell the story. Zoochberries used to be a pretty popular ingredient, grown on a number of worlds and used in countless recipes. But over the years, this former staple lost some of its luster as hyperspace trading routes made hundreds of varieties of rare and exotic berries available to planets across the Outer Rim. Suddenly, the old Zoochberry didn't seem so special anymore, and folks stopped growing and harvesting them. The result was a steep hike in price for what was once one of the cheapest berries on the market. Nowadays, when somebody with a fondness for Zoochberries wants to take their taste buds on a walk down memory lane, I serve them this creamy confection. It's sweet, juicy, and bursting with so much flavor that most folks never realize that there isn't a single Zoochberry in it. Surprise! Well, we'll find out how good it is, as the ingredients are waiting for us at the table, so let's move in that direction. For this recipe, as you can probably guess by a rough ingredients split, let me see if I can make it a little bit more pronounced. There we go. We've got a rough 3-part split that we're going for here. For the first part of this recipe, we're going to need 1.5 cups of chocolate graham cracker crumbs. As you can see, we've got chocolate graham crackers. The crumbs have a fairly intuitive solution, as you might be able to see by a plastic bag right in front of that. 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, and 1/2 cup, aka 1 stick of butter that I've melted. For the sauce, we need 10 ounces of mixed berries, such as blueberries, strawberries, and raspberries, plus additional berries for garnishing. I'm going to use the mixed berries in the main part of the recipe, and the strawberries for garnishing later. 1/4 cup of granulated sugar, a teaspoon of lemon juice, a tablespoon of balsamic vinegar, and it might be a little bit hard to see, but we also need 1/2 teaspoon of ground ginger. And then for the filling, we need 1 cup of heavy cream, 1 pound of cream cheese softened, which I may have to help that along a little bit, 1/2 cup of powdered sugar, a dash of vanilla extract, and another 1/2 teaspoon of lemon juice. Now, I normally have all the maintenance done and ready to go before we go into a recipe, but we do have a couple things we need to address, so let's move into the kitchen and we'll start off with those maintenance tasks before we put this recipe together. For the time being, pretend the saucepan over at the stove doesn't exist. Our first order of business is going to be getting the graham cracker crumbs, and I suspect when you're seeing what else we've got in shot, the puzzle is probably starting to come together pretty easily. So, we are going to take our chocolate graham crackers. We'll get these opened. Pair of scissors. Actually, before we do that, I'll open this bag. We'll dump the graham crackers in. Go ahead and seal this up nice and tight, just as a force of habit. Whenever I do any kind of sealing in the kitchen, I try to burp as much of the air out as I can. Then we're going to set it down on a nice flat surface. Then I've got a meat tenderizer that I'm going to use the flat side on, just to crush these up into crumbs. really don't need to smash it up too much more, but I think you get the idea there. We're just crushing the graham crackers up into crumbs. Now, obviously, if you need a little bit of stress relief, feel free to go nuts with it on the profanity and all that good stuff. Just probably within reason. I don't imagine your landlord would be too crazy if you were to smash up the countertops in the apartment and then have to pay to replace them. Or your parents if you're making this at home. So easy does it on how crazy you go with smashing the graham crackers up. Anyway, that's the graham cracker crumbs done. Hopefully those won't pop out on me too much. I'll put those in the sink just in case anything goes sideways there. And then I normally don't show lining a pan with aluminum foil, but in this case I'm going to because we want to make sure that we've got enough overhang, and yeah, we should have plenty of overhang there. So we'll go ahead and line that. I think we'll go ahead and line both sides of it as well, just to make sure line it going the other way as well. I want to make sure I've got enough overhang to be able to pull this out when we're ready for it. So there we go. We've got the pan all set with plenty of overhang. So now that can get put aside for the time being, and then we'll start to actually put the recipe together, and our first order of business is going to be making the crust. This is probably a little bit bigger than the medium bowl that the recipe actually calls for, but this is what we're going to use to combine the ingredients for the crust. So we're going to take the chocolate graham cracker crumbs that we just crumbled up. Hopefully without getting too much spilled over. The 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. We'll put that back up right away. And our half a cup of butter. And I've got a spatula here just in case I need to scrape a little bit out, which I will need to scrape some out. Okay. Then we'll mix all of that together. I've got another spatula that I can use in case I need to scrape the edges down, but this wooden spoon seems to be doing the job just fine so far. And what we want to mix up for is it should be slightly wet and hold its shape when squished. Which, as I'm checking through, it seems like that's about where we are here. So maybe smush some of this up just a little bit more. But otherwise, I think for the most part, we're pretty good here. Yep. We look like we're good here. So now we're going to bring that pan that we lined earlier back in shot. And we're going to press the graham cracker crumb mixture into the pan. Here might be where we need the spatula, but I think we've got most of it out here. We'll spread that out a little bit. Pressing that into the bottom of the pan as best we can. Okay. I think we're good there, so we can throw that off to the side for the time being. And now we want to start to work on the sauce. As you can see, since we're over at the stove, now we want to be reminded of the existence of this, well, I was going to say medium saucepan, but I think this is a little bit bigger than a medium saucepan. So now what we're going to do is we're going to combine, we're also going to learn how to enunciate. We're going to combine the ingredients for the sauce in a medium saucepan over medium heat. So we're going to start off with our fruit. Good thing Festies makes mixed fruit, so I don't have to make... Good thing they make mixed berries, so I don't have to make my own mixed berries. That's a little more than 10 ounces, but it'll do for our purposes. Into the garbage with that. Now, a quarter cup of granulated sugar. Actually, I'm going to give the counter a quick wipe down. There's a little bit of strawberry residue on there from the looks of it. The sugar can go back up. What is it? A teaspoon of lemon juice, which I've got the lemon juice right here. Easy does it. There we are. The lemon juice can go back in the fridge. A tablespoon of balsamic vinegar, which I'll have to cuss and swear with opening from the looks of it, but it's probably not the first time I've ever had to cuss and swear with opening something, and I highly doubt it'll be the last. So which way does this stupid thing want to pull? And I've got no nails. There we go. I was going to say I've got no nails if I need to get underneath it, but I don't need to. What I do need to do, though, is get that layer of film off. There we go. Yeah, no, that thing is going to need to get... Well, let's give it a little poor chance, but I have a feeling this spigot thing is going to need to get lifted out of here and nothing flat. Nope. There's the vinegar in. And where is this going to go? Because it's not going to go up there. It's probably going to go up here, actually, up in this cabinet. Yeah. Make sure that's closed nice and tight. And then I'll prop it up there. And then we've got our half a teaspoon of ground ginger. And as I see the berry cook being critical to this recipe, we are going to watch the berry cook in real time. Normally, as you guys have heard in the past, I normally cut when I think ingredients don't need to be cute, but when I think I can get away with it. But here, I don't think I can get away with it, and I want to be able to show you guys the consistency here. So we are going to watch this cook in real time. We want to set that over medium heat. And then we're going to cook that until the berries are starting to fall apart, which should take about 15 minutes. So I'm going to let it... So I'm probably going to give it about a minute or two. Well, once I make sure we've got the right burner turned on, which I'm pretty sure we do. We'll give this a little bit of a stir up, but... Once I confirm that we've got the right burner on, then I'm going to start the 15-minute timer. And yep. So we'll give it about another minute or two before we actually start the timer. Which I'll probably use my microwave kitchen timer. So about 5:30 here on the recording segment, and then we're going to start the timer. I'm just watching back of the camera here. And it looks like especially the raspberries are starting to fall apart already as I'm stirring this up. So we're going to go ahead and start the kitchen timer. All right, I'll give this a quick. Keep stirring this obviously while it's cooking. But while we're watching the mixed berries here and everything for the sauce cook, I do want to chat with you guys a little bit here. So you've been seeing some game streams starting to pop up on the channel as I've been getting testing going on with my laptop, trying to get the feel for the technical layouts on all of that. Now, testing has actually been going very well on that. I did have an issue with the scoreboard on the baseball streams with being able to track the innings, but I picked up a new scoreboard for that, and I think that's going to work a lot better for the baseball videos to be able to track the innings more easily. But I do want to talk about what the future of streaming is a little bit on the channel. So I'm not going to suddenly turn into an all-streaming channel where I'm just going to start streaming everything, because a lot of my content just is not suited to being stream only. The general rule of thumb I'm using when it comes to deciding, okay, here's a game that makes good streaming content, is the more camera cuts I use in making content, the less I want to use it for streaming. For instance, anything Mystical Munchies related, I don't think you're ever going to see a live episode of Mystical Munchies because I'm moving the camera around too much. Where you've got me at the desk, then we go over to the table for the ingredients, then we're in the kitchen starting to put the recipe together. Usually a few segments in the kitchen, and then we're back over at my desk for the taste test. Similarly, a lot of the games are also not all going to be suited for stream content. Again, the rule of thumb there is the more camera cuts I use, the less I want to use the game as stream content. So for instance, anything in the Arkham Horror files is probably all going to be recorded content. Because all of those games I'm bouncing the camera around constantly, and there's a lot of information that I need to be able to share out in those videos. So the Arkham Horror files is not going to make good streaming content at all. On the other side, a video like Twilight Inscription, which I shot last Wednesday. Actually, it was last Wednesday? No, it was last Wednesday. So it wasn't this past Wednesday, but the previous Wednesday. Although on a related note, Terraforming Mars, the dice game, which was this past Wednesday video, also would have made great Zip-It Siri. Also would have made great streaming content. And if you're observant in the game videos, you can probably tell what I think is going to make good streaming content. Where the games where I say I need to take a small break are usually going to make a lot better streaming content. Whereas if I say, let's move over, yada yada yada, those games are not going to make good stream content. And the top example of this is Arkham Horror, the card game, where you'll hear me all the time say, let's move down to so-and-so's play area, or let's move over to the map, something like that. So content like that is not going to make good streaming content. But again, and it's the difference I've kind of had with content being camera cutty versus flowy. And generally, the more clearly defined you have phase transitions, I'm generally going to want to use more camera cuts for that. Whereas if a game flows for a while, that's what I mean by it being. If a game flows, that's what I mean by it being flowy. I guess I'm looking for a way that I can explain flowy without using the word flow. Basically, if there's no clearly defined transitions in a game, that's where it's kind of termed more flowy. So using Twilight Inscription again as an example, where you draw your card out, then you spend the resources on the card, then you roll the resource dice, then you spend the resources. There's really no clearly defined phase transition in there. So there's really no way to be able to put in any kind of camera transition there. So that's what I mean by flowy versus, by a game being flowy versus having more predefined, versus more clearly defined transitions. So hopefully that slight ramble makes sense. So you probably are going to start seeing more streams, and I might actually reserve that for the occasional game stream, but you're definitely going to see a lot more streaming with a lot of the baseball content that I've been doing. Actually, probably the sports content in general, but especially the baseball content that you've been seeing on the channel. Where I know there have been issues with the focus as well, but I don't know how much I'm going to be able to do with the focus on the baseball videos and really anything that I stream from the laptop, because it's that shot that I was having problems with. Well, it's not, maybe problem isn't the word for it, but with the webcam being set up where it is, and me wanting you guys to be able to see the scoreboard in the baseball videos, I don't think we're going to get the focus on the cards where I would normally want it to be. So I'm kind of rambling a little bit, and I'm also trying to kill some time while we wait for these berries to cook. But that was just some musings I was having about the future of streaming content on the channel. Let me see if I can cut these strawberries up a little bit as we're waiting for them to cook these. It looks like we got some big ones in here. Now, obviously, a wooden spoon is not the best tool for this, and I don't really want to put anything metal in a pot that's cooking for obvious reasons. I'd rather not burn my hand with something else that conducts heat. So, but yeah, that's where my mind is at in terms of streaming versus recorded content. Rule of thumb, anything with clear transitions and where I'm using a lot of camera cuts, not good stream content. Whereas anything that records more as a flow tends to make better stream content. Now, could I play around with some of the camera cuts to make the more camera cutty videos a bit more flowy and more suitable for stream content? I probably could, but I kind of like how I've got everything set up with especially with the Arkham Horror Files stuff. I kind of like the layout I've got there of how I set everything up for that. So, plus, the other problem with trying to do anything in terms of setup there is I'm way too close to the Summer of Lovecraft. So, I don't think I want to be changing anything for the Summer of Lovecraft. Now, I could explore some changes to the Arkham Horror Files content for Christmas in Arkham to make that a little more stream friendly, but I think we're going to run into the same situation where everything's going to be too laid out, where I'm going to be using the camera cuts too much, so everything's going to work better in the Arkham Files as recorded content. Now, note that I didn't say the Cthulhu Mythos, because there are definitely games in the Cthulhu Mythos that actually would be well suited for stream content. Because there are games in the Mythos that the camera mostly stays in one place. So something like like the Call of Cthulhu adventures, for instance, the focus there is probably more on the book and the adventure that you're going through than necessarily a board. So maybe next month when we're spending time in Mythos month, I'll experiment a little bit with streaming some of those Call of Cthulhu adventures, but that will remain to be seen. Anyway, we're at about a little less than 6 minutes left on the berry cook, and it doesn't look like these strawberries are starting to come apart on me. I'm trying to cut them up a little bit to help them along. See if we can do anything with that. I don't think the blueberries are really going to fall apart on me either. The raspberries, though, definitely went sayonara. And those went sayonara quick. Just keeping an eye on letting the berries mix up. I've also got a bigger colander that I'm going to stream the berry mix into. If I can bring that a little bit closer. I don't necessarily need that in shot yet, though. Actually, I don't know if I'm going to need that in shot at all, because the strain's probably going to take a while, and I'm likely going to do that over at the sink. Again, just trying to cut the strawberries up as best I can with a spoon, obviously, so that I can maybe help these come apart a little bit more. Okay. Like I said, the strawberries at least seem to be coming apart well, even with a little bit of added help there, but the blueberries, some of the blueberries are actually going as well. I don't know if these probably need to be completely apart when they go into the colander, so I might want to give this fruit mixture a little bit of extra time to cook. See if the berries come apart, because I did start the timer fairly early on. These berries. Now, for the most part, they seem to be coming along pretty well. Okay. I'm just watching the timer here as well, both on camera both on the camera and on the kitchen timer on the microwave. Probably a good thing I went and got a bigger colander from the grocery store this morning, because I have a feeling this strain is going to take a while no matter how I do it. Looks like the berries are starting to come apart here a little bit, but I'm going to give it another... I probably am going to have to take a small break here in a little bit, but I do want to give this a little bit more time to see if these strawberries fall apart a little more. Of course, I might be getting greedy on it at this point. But actually... no, it does look like those strawberries are really starting to fall apart on me. So if I give them... yeah, the timer's getting ready to go off here. So once the timer goes off, I think we are going to take a small break. Plug your ears in 2, 1. Alright. There's the timer, so I think we are going to take a small break, and I'm going to give this about another 5 minutes. We're at the sink with a colander, so before we start straining, that's what it ended up coming out looking like. So I did give it 5 extra minutes while I had the camera turned off on the stove. So now we're going to strain this into... so now we want to strain this into a small bowl. This is a bit bigger than a small bowl, but it also can support the colander, so we're going to strain that off. Easy does it. Ideally getting through all the clumps of fruit there. And then as the strain here is likely to be a slow job, what we're eventually going to want to do with this is once we get all of this strained, we're going to eventually transfer this into the fridge to chill. So we'll see if maybe we can shake that and help it along a little bit. Trying not to hit the bowl as I'm working on straining it. Probably not recommended to shake it like this to help the streaming process, but it seemed like it worked for me the last time I had to use a strainer. So we'll go ahead and stick with it here. I think that's as much as we're going to get there. So now this can hit the bin. And we'll bring the next part in. Bring the next... yeah. Up. Okay. We'll shake that to help it along. Most of the reason I'm kind of speeding this along like this is because I know I've got other things that are going on today, and I want to be able to speed this up as much as I can. So I want to be able to strain most of the liquid here out. Or at least as much as I can get out anyway without getting many seeds in there. Okay. I think we got most of what we can out of... Well, maybe we can get a little bit more out. But I think we got as much as we're going to get out of here. And the next little group... Actually, this might be the end of it. Looks like we should be able to get a bit more out of there if we scrape the pan, and we're going to. Some of it's likely scorched in, and that's going to be problems when it's time to start cleaning up. See if we can give that a little bit of a shake once again to help it along. Seems like it's working here to help things along. Yeah, I think we're probably... See if I can turn this. Or we might have as much as we can get out of this. Yeah, I think we got as much as we're getting out of here. So I'm going to go ahead and dump that. And then that's going to move into the fridge once I put the colander on something else that's not going to drip on the floor. So we're going to move that into the fridge to chill. And now we're going to move back to the main counter to work on the sauce, or on the filling. The first thing we want to do in a small bowl is we're going to take the heavy cream and we're going to beat that until it forms stiff peaks. Oop. Forgot I brought the garbage can in here so I had something to throw the seeds into when I was straining it, when I was straining the berries. So now we want our cup of heavy cream. Grab a spatula. All right, those can all head toward the dishes. That in there. Need the lemon juice out. And we're going to beat this until it forms heavy peaks. Which, I think given that we... Wait. Something's not right, because you normally wouldn't beat... Okay, something's not right, because heavy cream is usually a liquid like this. So, yeah, I'm not sure where they're getting stiff peaks out of this. The only thing I can think of is maybe the bubbles like this, but I don't know. It seems like it's working now that I'm going after it a little bit, but I'm also at a bad angle. Huh. Maybe I just needed to get after it a little bit. Hurting my arm in the process, but I think I'm getting where I want to go ultimately. Yeah, looks like I'm definitely getting where I want to go. Alright, so that looks like it's forming. That looks like I'm getting where I want it to go. So I'm going to put the heavy cream aside, and I'm going to take kind of the easy way out as we're going to bring my stand mixer in shot. We've got the stand mixer in shot here. So now that we've put the heavy cream aside, we're going to beat together the rest of the ingredients for the filling. So we're going to start off with our pound of cream cheese, which hopefully is softened enough now that I've had it out of the fridge for like an hour. Still a little bit on the chilly side, so hopefully I'm not going to wish I had put this in the microwave to help the softening process along. Now if I can ever get it open, there we go. Alright. In you go. And the other one. There we are. It's taking me a little bit to open this off camera. Okay. So that's the pound of cream cheese. Next we want the half cup of powdered sugar. So I've got my powdered sugar right here. That's a little bit of a generous half cup, but we'll work with it. Powdered sugar can go back up. Somewhere, there we go. Another half teaspoon of lemon juice. One and two. Oop. That's a little more than what I wanted, but we'll work with it. And a dash of vanilla extract. Put in a little bit more, there we go. Alright, now for the moment of truth. Now we're going to put this down, lock it, and 5-second warning before I turn on the stand mixer in case you're wearing headphones. I don't remember how loud this is, but I don't think it's too bad. And here we go. Okay, it looks like having the I'll bring the camera over the top briefly, but it looks like leaving it out for like an hour was enough to soften the cream cheese, so it's actually mixing pretty well now. So we'll let that mix up. I'll grab a spatula just in case I need to scrape down the sides of the bowl, but I did put in the beater bar that's got the edges on it, so we should be fine there. And we'll eventually need to get... Alright. I'm just checking the next steps in the recipe, so I actually am going to pause this for a second so I can scrape some of the top of the bowl, because I see a couple clumps of the cream cheese that I want to try to get incorporated. There we are. All right, back in you go. And take it away. Hang on. Okay. All right. Now, into that mixture, looks like it's getting pretty well combined, so let's kill that for a second. Into this, once I unlock it and lift that up, so into that now we're going to mix in about a third of the whipped cream. So I've got right here. About there. Get a paper towel out for that while it's stirring in the first of the cream, or the heavy cream. I'm just checking the berry sauce for how cool it is. Now we want to add in the rest of the cream now that we've added about a third of it in. So now let's pour the rest of it in. Actually, I'm going to come over on the right side and pour it in. And another spatula. Actually, we'll just use the one that we were using earlier. Let's get the whisk out of it. I don't think I need that anymore. Okay. Okay. So we'll bring the beater bar back down, and we'll mix that in. Actually, I do kind of still need a spatula here. Once again, we'll scrape the top of the bowl down. Give that about another minute or two, I think. Alright, I think we'll let this go to about 10 minutes on the back of the camera, and then we should be about ready to bring the graham cracker mixture back in shot. Okay, I think we can shut that off. We'll lift the mixture out, scrape off the beater bar a little bit here. See if we can get more of the cream back in. There we go. Scraping this from kind of a weird angle, but I think we can work with it. Let me come over to this side and see what we can do here. There we are. Okay. All right, with that, I think we can bring the graham cracker crust back in shot. Now that we've got the cream sauce ready, now what we want to do is we're probably going to end up, I don't know how well this is going to pour, probably not very, but we'll find out. We're probably going to be using a spatula here about now. But we want to get the cream sauce out of the bowl. And trust me, I do not have the patience to wait for this to pour at the consistency it's at. Actually, I think for scraping on the pour, I want a better spatula than that. So we'll grab one of these. Yes, I'm making more dishes for myself to clean up, but again, I'm the one washing dishes, so who cares, right? Okay. We'll spread that all over. Okay, I think we're good there. So I've been checking the berry sauce off and on for how cool it is, and I think it is cool enough that we're going to pour that over the cream layer. So now we've got that out of the fridge. Getting down on spatulas here. I'm going to be washing dishes here very shortly, though. So now we want to pour this over the cream layer. Scraping out as much as we can. Alright, we'll bring the bowl over to the dishes, but we need the spatula here for the time being. Because I'm going to spread a little bit of the berry sauce over the cream. Okay. Then we're going to grab a bamboo skewer. Preferably without poking myself in the finger, because I've done that before. And we're going to make some swirl mixes in the top of this. So my swirls probably aren't going to be very good, but here goes. Well, Some of them aren't turning out too bad. Maybe a bamboo skewer wasn't the right tool to grab for this job, but seems like it's working well enough, and I'm hitting the... I do feel like I'm hitting the graham crackers at the bottom of this, and catching a little bit of the aluminum foil in here. Still, doesn't look like it's coming out too bad. So now, I'm going to throw the bamboo skewer out, and then we're going to refrigerate this for at least 2 hours. So this will go in the fridge. Where it's going to sit for at least the next 2 hours. So we'll come back, probably more like, I'd say about half the day. So we'll come back in a few hours anyway. Here's our first look at the Zoochberry Surprise. It's been sitting in the fridge basically since I left this morning. So now we're going to lift this out of our 9x13 pan. Oh wow, lifts out nice and clean. We can put that over the dishes. We'll fold this down. Mostly so I can make it a little easier to cut. Nice. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and cut this into squares. It's still a little liquidy, but I don't think there's anything I can do about that here. I'm just making sure it's mostly going to separate nice and clean. Which it looks like it is. Okay, nicely done. We'll grab a plate here. We'll scoop a piece out. We'll go for this end piece right here. There we are. I'll put some of the extra strawberries on there, and then I'll meet you guys over at my desk for the taste test. So from the look of what I've been preparing, this appears to be my first time ever making cheesecake. I've had it plenty of times, but I've never done anything close to it myself. Looks like it's mostly crust here, but let's give this a taste and see what I think of it. Definitely feels like it's solid. I'm a little concerned how crumbly it still is, but maybe that's the nature of the beast with cheesecake, but here we go. This actually is really good. I probably would notice more of the cheese if it wasn't mostly crumbs, because I ended up using all of those chocolate graham cracker crumbs, which was probably more than a cup and a half, but, well, it might have been close to that, but yeah, I'm really happy with how this turned out, and that's another episode of Mystical Munchies in the books. Next week we'll be in a new cookbook, but more on that during Pinot with Phoenix later this week. As for the games, tomorrow we're playing Gaia Project, and as of now I'm thinking either Monday or Tuesday we're going to have the play-in game for the 2024 Summer of Lovecraft as we play Pandemic, Reign of Cthulhu. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.